Ready when you are.
Moving to the roll call.
I would love to. Chair Weber McLeod,
Here.
Mr. Andre,
Present.
Counselor Cuddy,
Here.
Ms. Crawford. Here. Mayor Giantino.
Here.
Mr. Lovell is excused, so will be joining us soon. Ms. Wolfers is excused. Ms. Hennigan.
Here. Everyone has received the minutes in your packet, have an opportunity to review them, have any changes, revisions, without the schedule. All right, if not, I would entertain a motion to the minutes.
So moved.
Any second?
Or second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And just great. Tracy, would you like to review the bills?
I would love to. So we have just a few bills. Don't have the bill sheet in here, sorry. We have the MRB group services for September, end of August into September. And then we have the Cuba County Chamber of Commerce, $425 for tickets to the annual dinner. And then we have received 2 pilot payments that need to be dispersed for Beaumere and Courier. That Courier one is prorated. So we had total disbursement, so, I didn't put the Courier one on here. We have about $37,000 worth of, pilot payments that are getting dispersed. And then about $7,500 of money going out to vendors. Thank you.
Questions? No, questions or comments? Concerns? If not, I will entertain a motion to, you want to do both at the same time, please? The bills and the treasurer's report, if you may.
Almost just do the bills for now.
And a motion to approve payment of the bills as presented. Thanks for the second.
Second.
Thank you, Dan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, abstention. So, opposition, fantastic. You want to do the treasurer's report?
So we met October 1st, and went over, just the financial reports that were in there. Did anyone have any questions with any of those? So in September, we just had the QuickBooks and the MRB. We were still waiting for Dill Street to close and to collect about that $36,000. We're waiting to finalize the Newport pilot, because the assessment had decreased, so that wasn't on the balance sheet. So right now we have, for the 2025 payment, or 2025 pilot, it's $820,000, or $820,000. Why am I saying that right? $820,432. The MAC portion and career are dropping off in 26. And then we noted that the CD is maturing on 10/16, so Tracy went and reviewed some rates, see what that looks like. I think we'll probably, with a cash flow, I think we still could continue to do that.
Yeah. We have that, is that actually needed?
I think so. The motion on it.
Okay, yeah. So basically, Shamong had sent me, they have a deal on a 6-month CD for 3.75%. Is that what it was that I sent you? So, we could roll over the $25,000 we have in the CD, and continue to get 3.75% on it for another 6 months. So I think it's reasonable in the current market.
You thought it okay? Just continue to go over it. Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report, including the roll. I do that properly. Can you put the CD in the approval of the treasurer's report, or does it need to be separate?
No, do it separate.
It needs to be separate. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report. Thank you. I got, Dan Lovell and Mayor Gentino. Any, questions, comments? If not, all those in favor? All right, any opposition, abstentions? And then, I will also ask for a motion coming out. It's the motion on the CD is coming out of the treasurer finance committee.
Yes.
Okay, so, you make that motion?
Like the motion to accept the 6-month CD from Shimon at 3.65%.
And I think it's coming out of the state.
No, it doesn't.
I didn't even know that.
Well, it doesn't matter, I think.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition, thanks. All right, Ms. Rainey, have a whole list of things.
Yes, so these are all coming out of the finance committee, so I will, I don't know if you want to talk about these, or I can.
All right, fine.
For the first week, capitalization.
Yeah, so with the capitalization policy, we did review that. That was one of the auditors' notes to just look at it. It was mostly for the threshold that we had, so we increased it from 500 to 1,000. We don't have assets at all, but they've whirled $1,000. Unfortunately, doesn't go very far. So that's really the biggest difference in that, but I know that Tracy, did include it in your packet. So we'll be, asking, I think that we're going to ask for that approval in January with the other policies.
No, we're actually gonna put it on the book now.
Okay.
I'll have to read about it, January.
Okay. So it's in there for review, to approve. It actually makes sense because then when we do our audit, it'll be on the book. Did anyone, have any questions on that?
Tracy, could you just do like a high level, what the capitalization
Yeah.
policy is, just to make sure we have shared understanding?
Yes, so basically what this policy does is it defines what is a capital asset and thus is reported on our balance sheet instead of our P&L, our profit and loss statement. So if we want to buy something, a piece of equipment that is $500, we can just expense that. It shows up as an expense on our profit and loss statement. And it's kind of a one-time transaction on our book. If we go out and we buy, say, a really fancy computer and it's $2,000, it's above that $1,000 threshold, that means that it's not actually gonna show up as an expense. It's gonna go onto our balance sheet as, under our fixed assets line. And we'll then depreciate that over the course of usually 5 years. So we would depreciate that asset, but it would never show up on our, profit and loss as an expense. We would be tracking that on our balance sheet. So it's really the difference between where we're putting it in our financials and how long we have to track it thereafter. Because if we expense it, there's no depreciation or something like that. It's just expense, it's on the line for that year. Generally speaking, what you want to be capitalizing are things that have value to be depreciated. So a small purchase, like if you buy, like a calculator, that's $100, like, it's not like a car, it's not like it's losing value and it's like, take it off the lot. Whereas like a computer has a useful life, and it's worth enough that you want to be able to track that useful life. So, so what the capitalization policy does is it defines the threshold for that, which is that there's a useful life of more than 12 months and the cost is more than $1,000. And then that dictates whether it goes on the balance sheet or the P&L. And then what this also does is gives us a guideline of when and how to remove items from our fixed assets. So like right now in our fixed assets, we have a bunch of stuff that we don't even own anymore. And we're gonna go through the process of getting that all off of the book. It's all been fully depreciated. Some of it isn't even in our possession anymore. There's no useful life to it. So it defines that like we keep things in our fixed assets until we no longer have possession of them. But like say this computer we bought lasts more than 5 years and it's fully depreciated, we need to keep that on the books until we no longer have the computer. Right now we have stuff in there like 1987 camera that who knows where it is. I think we actually might have donated it somewhere. So we just need to get that kind of stuff off the our fixed asset list. It's not affecting our financials at all, because it's also depreciated, but this defines, okay, when do we take that off of our fixed list and stop tracking it, stop calling it an asset of the idea.
And this also affects the level of $1,000, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
And that can be adjusted over time, so if in a couple of years, on your annual review, if you're like, you know what? $1,000 doesn't go very far anymore, you know, this should really be $2,000 or $5,000, so, you'll be reviewing them on an annual basis now, you can adjust that threshold.
Roger. Got it, on the same page. All right, you don't, I've got three before. So are we adopting this today? Is that all? All right, so I, entertain a motion to adopt the capitalization policy. Thank you. Second, we have Dave,
Everyone second?
Hold on a second. But, Councilor Dan, any other questions? All right, not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Thank you very much. Keep the party going.
Oh, what is next?
Oh, there's that tab.
Okay, here we go. Next, we have the 2026 budget adoption. So this is the finance committee review of the proposed 2026 budget. At their meeting, taking into account comments from the board last month. And this is where we landed. So we're just looking to adopt this so that we can submit it to Paris by the end of the month. But open to any discussion.
Walk us through it.
Oh, yeah, I can.
Okay.
Now, it's so good for it. So, Tracy made some detailed notes on the side for, how we had determined what we would come up with. Again, trying to be very realistic or give it a successful picture, really. So we're gonna assume that there's two projects at an average of 30,000. We're also adding the reimbursements for any questions that we have to go back on with any of our partners. Like we implemented this year. And then I think moving forward, we also will be having an annual fee with any new applications. The QuickBook expense is going to be annual. I remember I made so we're gonna do an annual expense to that, just so you see, and I know, it kind of sounds like I'm nitpicking and going like line by line with everything, but because we have such few transactions throughout the year, you're going to see this $1,300 fee one time, and rather than like our $80, $96 fee monthly.
So thank you, Bill, for bringing that up last month. I think that was you. You said, why don't we go annual? And I was like, great idea. So we're probably gonna do that in January so that it covers the full fiscal year and we don't have to worry about appropriating money across fiscal years. So it's gonna save us a couple $100.
The contracted services, so we found some ways to decrease the contracted cost. So we feel that the $40,000 is still pretty realistic. We were trying to see where we could bring some things in and have more of a mean flow. And I think we discussed before that there was kind of that curve last year with Tracy coming in and having to clean a lot of things up. And then, of course, we had more applications and more work, so that correlates to an increase of that. So the $40,000 we think is will be realistic. But those were the main fluctuations. And then, like I said, Tracy had a bunch of notes on the side. Did anyone have any questions? So thanks, Tracy, for putting that together, though. I think we were all pleasantly surprised in the finance committee to see it even out and feel really good about the numbers.
I would just like to take a note about the marketing expense, and we did talk about the fact that we do have a committee, and we haven't really been doing a lot in relationship to our strategic priorities, because we need to figure out what's going on. And I think we're there. One of the things I've asked Tracy to do would be to really take a look at our action plan for the next year and identify places in that plan where engaging in forms of marketing could be beneficial to the achievement of the goals related to that priority. So in some cases, that could be placing ads in that seems like the right thing. We talked a lot about the possibility of leveraging some of that funding to do things more in the relationship building space. So that part of us that's connected to voting offer is a great place to work, staying in touch with our project, with leaders of the project, doing more in person, kind of convening, that kind of thing, that are aligned with what we're trying to do. So I got Tracy for the action plan, come forward with some potential recommendations that can be the marketing committee around those ideas and then move them to action. I think even though we're still in a bit of a flux county-wide, that I still think that there are things we can do as the city's IDA to really start engaging, building relationships with intent to help us achieve the outcome. So I'm hoping that we spend some of that money strategically in a plan. Anything else related to the budget? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the 2026 budget. Thank you, Elder Cuddy. A second. The mayor. Thank you very much. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposition, abstentions? Okay, pass.
So. That's what I think already talked a bit about this, the, pilot invoice and disbursement report. Find it now.
That was up.
There it goes. So since then, I do think I have a pretty good idea of where Neutral Steel is gonna, since our finance committee meeting had got clarification, and I think I know where that's gonna land, so I did pop that in there. As you saw in our bills, we had 2 payments come in, so with the approval of the payment of the bills, I'll be dispersing those this week. Again, taking note that they'll be going out well within the 30-day window that is required. And at this point now, we're just waiting for everyone else to send their check due January 1st. No problem. At this point, we'll send out reminders probably in November to anyone that we haven't heard from, maybe right before Thanksgiving, just to make sure it's on their radar. I have gotten communication from a few of them saying that they're taking care of it, so that's a good sign. And we will, we'll get that new core bill. We're just waiting on one more kind of approval as to the amount, and then I'll get that out. And that will also, we'll keep you January 1st, so that's plenty of time. There's, not like we're asking them to pay tomorrow. January 1st, still plenty of time. So yeah, so I think we're in good shape, and just keeping a close eye on it.
Oh, there is 21.
21. Oh, thank you.
I had to put it in all those documents, I'm gonna remember that until I die.
I'll fix it. Thank you, Rob. I've been getting confused with a
Well,
lot of that.
if I have to be tortured with it, you need to be
Yeah.
tortured with it too.
That's right, why not? Share with it. All right, any concerns, questions? There, these looking accepting in that list?
Oh, I'm straight,
Okay.
down from.
All right. I'll give you a minute. I'm really excited that we have this on track and are monitoring it in a way that things are undetected. Wow.
Speaking of monitoring, Gwen and I will be going to the Hilton later this week on Friday, to do their monitoring visit. We'll be at RISO next month for our board meeting, which we'll remind you again at the end of the meeting. So that will count for that. So we're in pretty good shape on our monitoring visit as well.
Thank you. And then it looks like you have some general updates.
You are. Sure. Okay, so general update. Basically, so we still have that open board seat that we need to address. Right before the meeting, Karen did send out the Department of Labor report that she was referring to last month, and then I sent out some of the industry, way too much information about top industries. I took a deep dive, but, so any additional thoughts about potential board members? And then I have one last thing. I know I'm eager to get a board seat filled.
So if I can just recap for us, there were some names that came forward that Karen had done some research on and really started to take a look at how our people in the economic development space, defining what an industry is. And the candidates that we brought forward, although they could have value because things are rolling in their direction, did not specifically align with the definition of industry as it appears in the report. So because of that, we felt that we might want to take another look at that when we have various industries in front of us, and then start to identify candidates that align with those specific definitions and the categories of the industry. So we do want to get this seat filled prior to January. Does the mayor have to be appointed?
So the appointment goes to the mayor and
Right.
the council,
It doesn't have to wait till January.
it doesn't have to wait.
Okay, that's what I
We do it next week, name of somebody.
Right.
The one name that, had been mentioned last month that did fit into those categories, I think I'm looking at was a lead carrier from the, around the corner here. I don't know, is she a resident of Auburn? Is she a resident of Auburn?
Yes,
Oh,
and I had not asked her, she didn't know if her name was in the back.
Everybody goes back.
But that. Yeah.
yeah, I've got pictures. But that name did fit into the mix of craft beverage. And that is an emerging, obviously, an emerging popular industry in Auburn, the county and the region. But there were also these other industries that show promise, so they're on that point.
So basically presented someone who was on the list of names that was presented last time that fit into the categories of the definitions of industry as presented. Do we want to wait a meeting and look through the list and come up with other names? Or does the board have feelings about whether or not we should let the mayor reach out to an exploration to see if she's interested? And if she is, then we could bring that need forward, or if she's not, we could continue to work for it. So I'm open to an outcome, rather than a lot of. Right.
I think that, I mean, first I've heard the name, but I know there's been, you know, I think that I'm fine with the mayor asking.
All right, we'll reach out and see if she's interested.
No, I also think it's intriguing in the sense that one of the things we have been talking about are there are these developing industries in our community. And I think having this additional piece of information helps us align where any of those kinds of entities fit in these traditional definitions. And when we have the opportunity to invite someone to be a board who's doing something that, I think would be experienced a bit of non-traditional. I think one of the things that's going to be important for us to stay on top of is that the concept of industry is shifting and people are showing up in those categories with businesses we're not traditional in. So I think when we can add that voice to our table, it'll be beneficial for us as there will be someone else. The other thing, is that we were looking at other kinds of potential projects or, scenarios where the IDA could be so because, for example, healthcare, I can't remember the other one, didn't necessarily fit within this. I think when there's opportunity for us to bring that voice to the table, either through a presentation, which is what we did with the developer, I think in 2024, or, just that kind of way would be, I would still like that expertise to come into the room, either as a board education piece or just to give us information so that we're apprised about what's happening in those spaces too, because they could come at us, and I just want us to be knowledgeable about it.
I think the other valuable thing that Elaine brings is she's not from here. Her and husband chose to move here, you can position. And when they moved here, she started a business here. Brings the fresh perspective. That's important.
Yeah, I agree. So now, with this in front of us, start paying attention to the development pipeline. Start identifying, so the mayor's not like, well, we need to wait 6 months.
I think the hardest one to fill, number, it is true, yeah.
And I think, like I said, it's interesting, I think. What businesses are showing up in that category are changing in models, so I think the more we can add those, we literally are also positioning this IDA for future generations. So, all right, but I'm very curious that, you know, if you come across someone who's interesting to you, just kind of jot that name down so we can start to think about where people are, they can tell me. All right, so,
Or if you think about it, send me an email.
Yeah,
and I'll keep a running list,
yeah, I was gonna say that.
so you don't have to.
Wow, we're not.
Yeah, I keep, I remember people say to me, oh, I'd like to be on the planning board someday, and I write it down, because you never know, who's
Yeah.
hoping you gotta fill them.
Exactly. So, all right, so what I am hearing them say is that we're going to invite the mayor to speak with Timothy Lane, about filling her seat, and if she says yes, then we'll take the proper steps to ask her. So we need to have a play meeting, so keep thinking of people, you know, okay? Great, thanks so much, Mayor. Thank you. Great to meet you.
My other update is just an update. We had a conversation last month about, the Economic Development Coordination Group and a, budget request to the county. We did have a good meeting with the county chair yesterday, or not yesterday, last week. And then, so we now have a plan moving forward on how to present that to the legislature, deal with that in the budget process. He seems supportive of our recommendations, and we're gonna be making a couple of presentations on that budget to members of the legislature, so we're on our way, see what happens. But it sounds like the intent is to have that in the budget, and, or that $150,000 in the county budget, to start, so it would be wonderful if it works. I know there are lots of feelings about lots of things in this topic, so I don't know, if Mayor's at this meeting, when you were at this meeting, so I don't know if you want to add anything.
Well, I just think that the only thing that I might add from my perspective as the chair of our board is that the continuing challenge around stabilizing what I would identify as the county-wide economic development strategy is still before us, which is why the economic development coordination will came forward. And it was kind of a recommendation that came out from previous meeting, why to let the experts wrap their brains around it, but I think they're what it's provided. So I do think that what they're proposing is a really good first step, and it's identifying a strategy and an action plan. We also need to know that, I'll let the mayor speak to this if he wants to, that there's also been conversations about trying to get all the economic development under one roof. And, so that, an exploratory conversation was had about that. Mayor, if you want to speak to that, I'll let you do that.
Yeah, so I'm sure everybody's read article in the newspaper. A couple months ago, we had a meeting with the county. Members of the county, members of CCIDA, CCDC, even about a number of things. And CCIDA is inquiring whether or not they don't want to go with that office. And our response to them from this group was don't really use the office. So I talked with Jen Gaines and heard that he office space available here, we could offer it for free, just to get everybody on. We made that offer, that they would, everybody said they would think about it, but everybody seemed at that meeting to be very agreeable to that. CCDC has agreed to accept that offer. CCIDA, and now that, and they're rent office space at the car building. I'm sure you read the paper, I have a lot of feelings about that. I shared my feelings pretty loudly at the last meeting we had. You know, the reality of it is, there is contention with some people, that are involved with the economic development ecosystem in the county, that they don't trust us, and they don't want to work with us. It is what it is. My position would move forward, and that's what we're gonna do. City will be coming with a lease agreement to us, or if so choose, I'm assuming we'll all want to do that. Unless somebody has office space that they want to rent somewhere. And we'll continue to do what we're doing. You know, it was brought to my attention that a member of CCIDA simply does not feel that ADA is necessary, it should go away. And we should just have one, or it should be CCIDA. I disagree with that for a number of reasons. That's not something I'm interested in discussing or entertaining. But, you know, I will say that Chairman Hanna was trying to be a partner, he understands the importance of having everybody under one roof, and he feels that we will be able to work through this. See how it goes. But I think Tracy did a great job presenting a budget for that money that the county is talking about, aligning three times development.
And I think, we just always need to be cognizant of whatever our income strategy, right? So I'm saying in terms of the work that we have in front of us, that we just continue focusing our energy on getting our action plan done. Tracy will say at the table with our economic development partners, we are certainly wanting to send the sign by that presence there that we are interested in doing collaborative things that they're feasible. But I support the mayor's position that while the county as a macro entity is trying to figure out what they want to do, but we just need to be open, but continue to do the things that we want to do on behalf of the project that we're managing. The other thing that's just out there in the public, I'm of the opinion that we have an object issue, the county has an object issue. And I experienced that firsthand when I'm doing my other economic development region. I just brought that forward for people consideration, because it's a little bit address those object issues better. But in the meantime, we as a entity are known through Tracy, who's well known, right? And we're also known because we have a demonstrated track record. And I think for us, let's just lean into that, keep doing the things that we're scheduled to do, logically, methodically, and we will continue to sit at that table and as things unfold, we'll engage as good partners as well. But I don't, what I said is that we sat down with you for a while trying to figure out what to do, that we opted just to go ahead and create our own action plan. Doesn't mean we're not interested in collaborating, but that we weren't going to be for resolved because this larger project process has to be addressed. So I felt very good by the end of the meeting. I think that I believe that everything needs to be on the table all the time, everything about it. And now we're all, I'm thankful that our other partners want to come in, that CCID will do whatever, but we'll keep doing it.
And to be clear, the offer's still on the table, but there was a way for them to get out of that lease, and they changed their mind, they're involved in it, and I made that clear. But we've lost 2 years, we've literally lost 2 years. So.
Yeah, and that's part of what this proposed budget intends to do, is give everyone a clearer picture of who's doing well over the next year. We're all going to partner on these initiatives, but everyone's doing the wrong thing. We're all providing economic development services in our lane and doing what we need to do for our organization. So we're also coming to the table on a strategy for the future for the community. And that will be helpful regardless of what happens with 2027. But it will, as I said last month, it will help to provide a clear set of metrics, clear and uncommon language for us all to be communicating about priorities.
The final thing that I shared with them is that the way we're operating now is counterintuitive to how people are describing what good economic development looks like in the 21st century. I think we need to stay in our silos and do our things because those are the conditions that we're operating. But when you look at people all around us that are having success and taking steps forward, it has because they found their way to a one-stop kind of model, and found ways to develop trust where people are willing to high performance of their trust. So in the meantime, we'll just continue to do the things that we do. Like I said, we have a demonstrated track record that we have really smart people around our table in Jersey, and we'll do it. Keep practicing it, all right? And keep your ears to the ground. I'm always open, the mayor's always open, so we're supposed to be, we will talk about the fact that we might be heading in so that if you have anything for us, Take us to the vote, do that. You take one on your next one, you're done. All right, next, Tracy.
Yeah, so we're gonna start transitioning into UTEP talk. The let's start at an example. The UTEP housing supplement we talked about last month, it sounds like it was on the right path, but wanted everybody to start taking a look and seeing if there's any additions or adjustments that you want to make, especially to the scoring criteria. And then as well, I'm just gonna spend like a minute going over an example of what a project we might see is. And just upfront, we can't adopt the UTEP tonight because we moved our meeting and the municipal comments aren't due until Friday. So we're gonna come back and do an adoption next month. So we've got our draft housing supplement. This is exactly the same as we saw last month.
Thank you.
So just wanted to touch base and see if anyone had noticed anything that they wanted to update in this. For an example. The two things that I really wanted to talk about, I included this attainable family unit, scoring criteria. So the way I have it set up now is that you have to get 5 points to be eligible for the enhanced schedule. This would be 3 points. And it really just says you just have to have 1 3-bedroom apartment available at a certain income level, affordable at a certain income level. So my question is one enough to justify, partially justify going to an enhanced schedule? Or do we potentially want this to be a percentage of units or whatever the case may be? So that's what I wanted to just get some feedback or thoughts on. And then in terms of this corporate social responsibility scoring, which is just one, but this is something that we can be like, hey, you want to buy your way into the enhanced schedule? Here's how you do it. If 50 cents per square foot makes sense. So it'll be, I think the calculation is, for like a 75,000 square foot unit, you're talking about a $35,000 payment, to a local community organization focused on one of our priority areas. So the question is that enough? And then also on the family unit. So I'm gonna get any thoughts on those two in particular. We're good? Bill?
Should you go back down a little bit? I know we talked about last month. Explain to me where we came up with 50 square foot.
The 50 cents per square feet?
Is that something you just made up?
I literally made it up.
So what is it? Because is it based in any other?
So it's based on my experience of what is an amount that seems reasonable. So I've seen other areas do like a per square foot or per unit
Okay.
fee
Okay.
if they want to buy out of something or buy into something. So it's not completely made up context. The 50 cents, I was thinking about what's a reasonable number to have meaningful amounts of money for the organization without it becoming a burden to the project.
That's right.
So that was my rationale, and that's the number I came up with. It could probably be higher, but I also am not looking to take projects to rise on this. You know, I think it's a good middle, it's a good reasonable amount to be able to both help the organization, but also help the business.
Sure. Okay.
I don't know if Rob would agree.
Well, I'm just wondering, 50 cents per square foot, that total areas excluding common areas, or is it just?
I would say the whole building. Or the whole space.
Anything else?
I think I'll just put it based on.
Just clarify.
just
Yeah.
clarify.
So can everybody hear, because you know, our friend HVAC and quite know what he means.
Would we prepare a list of eligible organizations?
I think we could do that, yeah.
I would prefer we do that, and just leave it up to them to decide.
Yeah, my one concern about that was to say, like, how do, like, then you're on the hook if someone comes and says, why isn't my organization on the list?
Well, I just don't want somebody writing a $35,000 check to the human fund. And everybody's assigned to them.
Well, Tracy, I think one of the things that we take into consideration, as we're saying, right, organizations that are doing things that are in alignment with our strategic priorities or the strategic action plan. I think that would be reasonable, a reasonable explanation for people to want to know what's the criteria that we're using. Because I think we should pour into organizations that are doing work.
Yeah.
That supports what we're trying to do, that helps us advance.
Or maybe it's for someone who can provide it study nothing. And that has and that was verified or something like that.
Yeah, I think that we need to put some criteria around it. But Rob, I have a question for you. Does that have to be, that specific prior to us doing a public hearing or taking the steps we have to take to get to approval on this?
We want to have it as near final as possible. One thing you could do is, make an exhibit either with the organizational criteria on it, that set forth in exhibit A. And then you just update the exhibit rather than change policy. That way, you know, if you wanted to do it with a list of organizations, you could, and then if somebody complains that they're not on it,
That's just the thing.
take a vote.
Yeah.
Add them to it.
Right.
If they're a good organization. So I guess I don't see the optics to be insurmountable because you can say, okay, you're right, you should be on it. Update our exhibit.
Yeah, and keep in mind, the next thing we're gonna talk about is an RFQ for, analysis services, so that would be the same thing. We say, if you wanna deviate from our pilot schedules, you need to provide this, you're already qualified for. So,
Anything else?
maybe we just do an RFQ, be like, you wanna be included on our list, send us these things.
That would be fine.
I'm working in a company where there's a big battle.
Cool, okay. Great, I think those are the two main things that I just wanted to get some clarification on, so I'll, make those updates before we approve next month, or build this out a little bit more before we approve next month. And then the other thing I just wanted to share with you is kind of an example of how this plays out. So I created a fake project that is based on a real project. And just here's some details. So it's a market rate rental project, 60 units, new construction. This is they tell us, okay, this is the number of one-bedroom units at this monthly and annual rent. And then what I can do is with that tool I mentioned last month, the Novo Craddock, whatever, I can see, okay, I can use this 100% AMI calculation for rent threshold for each bedroom type or unit type to calculate, okay, what AMI is this? So for each of these, we say, okay, the applicant has provided us with these numbers. for the types of units based on number of bedrooms, how many of them, and what the rental rates are gonna be. And this is where they land on AMI in terms of the rent threshold. So these top one-bedroom apart, these 20 units are affordable at 113.7% of AMI. Other things to note about the project, it's gonna create 2 FTEs, they need a maintenance person, they need an admin person. It's 75,000 square feet, that's why it's a calculation. They're gonna incorporate geothermal heating and cooling for energy efficiency, and it is a greenfield development. So based on all of that, when you apply it to the scoring criteria, you know, it's not mixed, it doesn't meet the mixed income, because we say it has to cover a spread of 30 percentage points. And this only covers a spread of 12 percentage points, so 0.6. It's not middle income, because it's above, it doesn't average out to 100% AMI. So because they're all above 100% AMI, there's no way it can average out to 100%. So 0.6. Energy efficiency, they're gonna use that geothermal, so it's great, they get the 4 points. Because they're incorporating the geothermal. There's no attainable family units, because there's nothing under 100% AMI. Or nothing below 90% AMI. It's not adaptive reuse, historic rehabilitation, or brownfields because of the new construction on a greenfield site. It doesn't meet the 5 direct jobs. And they have not indicated they're gonna make a contribution. So at this level, they only have, the project as presented only has 4 points. So they are eligible for the standard pilot schedule, not the enhanced pilot schedule. Since they have this energy efficiency and they got 4 points for that, if they were to make a $37,000 contribution, that would bump them up to the pilot to get the enhanced schedule for the pilot. So again, the scoring criteria is not to say whether or not we're going to award the project, it's just to show eligibility for the enhanced schedule, which has extra years. And so this is a scenario where you might find like, oh, okay, I'm at 4 points because I'm doing historic and brownfield. Maybe that extra X number of dollars is worth it for me to get those extra years. So I'm doing good things, but also supporting the community and supporting the project. So that's basically the process we will go through. I would kind of bring this to you and you would be able to see my comments on why I gave a certain score. I'm taking an approach of it's all or nothing. Like, I'm not gonna be making determinations about what energy efficiency models or mechanisms are worth more points than others. At this point, I think we need to get to that level of detail. We work that out, but I'm not a professional. So, I don't think I'm qualified to make those determinations. So, but that's kind of an example of how a project would play out the scoring criteria and how it might vary depending on what they're getting. Thoughts?
That's you. Love to. There's rhyme or reason how we're making this decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, I think these are all things that have either been priorities of Ada or in terms of the actual housing. Like, we're gonna have a housing strategy at some point, but in my kind of initial deep dive or data dive and just understanding what's happening in other communities, those areas that we're providing and pilots for are great. Hardest and the hardest to get done, hardest projects to get done. So, I think there's good justification for all of these things.
So to be mindful of this, we have to wait again while so we can get all the things done, so we can bring this before, if you don't have the time to work through the document and get feedback. Tracy, thank you so much. We really requested that, if we could understand how that works.
Okay, and the RFQ, so this is, within the UTEP, we have, I wrote in the stipulation that if you want to deviate from our schedule, or you want to deviate from our policy, you provide justification for that, like third-party justification. And so what I am looking to do is start the process of an RFQ to get firms, and so that Ada can make a list of qualified firms that we trust for our applicants to go to when they want to deviate. And in that RFQ, what I sent to you, it still needs some additional legal language that Rob's gonna help fill in, but I was cutting it down to the wire and couldn't expect him to actually do it before this meeting. But basically what we're asking for is for firms to reach out, who are qualified to do test of reasonableness. So what that is they look at the performance that the applicant is saying, this is what my costs are gonna be, this is what my financing structure is gonna be, this is what my revenues and expenses are going to be. And so someone who is qualified to look at all that information, that check the assumptions that are being made, so that there's no like, oh, I'm just gonna like tweak this up to make it look like it needs more. But gut check the assumptions that are made and then calculate a return on investment to give an opinion as to whether that ROI is reasonable for the industry. Because there's different levels of return that are reasonable for different industries. So looking at, okay, what's reasonable for the industry? What is this project likely, or what are we anticipating this project to get? Does that match up with the pilot schedule they're asking? And that just kind of, that covers the board to say like, oh, okay, like I get it now. I'm not kind of guessing if they actually need this. You've got that professional backing to that claim that the project needs to be sent forward. In some cases, it might be an economic impact analysis. In other cases, it might be a physical impact analysis. So that's just, you know, maybe it's a project we wouldn't normally support, or if, you know, we really want to understand how the project will impact the community in terms of both cost and expenses. Is it going to be bringing the online and going to need a lot more public services than a normal development, or is it going to be bringing people to the school district? Is it, you know, whatever the case may be, we can ask for these things. And then, so we're going to ask firms to provide their qualifications. We decide who goes on the list based on who responds. We can have multiple on the list, and that list we provide to applicants when they want to do this. And the idea would be that they would pay for it. I think we decide how that mechanism works. My thought is the best mechanism might be, and I'm just throwing this at Rob right now, might be to require a retainer. And so that we are the client of the consultant, but we have the money to pay the consultant from the.
Yeah, you want to pay for it, then you have to reimburse them.
Yeah, so that's my question. Do we have them reimburse us, or do we ask for the money up front as a like an escrow to pay out of, and then we return whatever's left at the end? Good question.
Yeah, well, I think, yeah. But I think, yeah, you're right, you want to collect it as part of the application.
Right.
Yeah, I think you do.
So here's the recommendation, is that we set this up so that, because my thought was originally like, oh, they can go and engage the firm. But then my thought is, they're the client, not us. And not that should create a difference, but I would rather be different. And so my recommendation would be to set up a mechanism so when they say, we want to deviate, we say, okay, we need based on the hourly rate budget they provide for these services, we say we need a retainer or XYZ. And they pay us, we engage with whatever firm they tell us they want to work with. And then go from there. And that way we have that kind of money to pay consultant out of. And then if they don't use the full amount, we give them whatever's left for a retainer at the end.
So the purpose of the RFQ is just to enable us to begin to gather the list of possible firms that could deliver that service to our project. Okay.
We would not be engaging a firm, we would not be pay them for anything, we would just be creating a list that the applicant.
On the same page? So this, we don't need to do anything about this, you're just wanting to share it, right?
Yes, so take a read through this, we'll have a full copy next month, with all of the additional legal language that's necessary. And I'll tweak it a little bit to reflect how that mechanism will work, but, yes, if there's anything in the meantime, let me know.
All right. And it looks like, do we need an executive session for anything this evening, Tracy?
So,
And are there any board updates, any information, announcements that any of you can make? I know a group of us will be attending the Chamber of Commerce dinner under the umbrella of Ada, so I look forward to seeing everyone there and food and that. And I'm really feeling that we're increasingly at a good state and doing the right thing. So as always, I'm always open to your questions, comments, concerns, criticism, feedback. If you need clarification about anything, please get in touch with Tracy. If there's nothing else to come before, we will now entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. All right, we have a motion by Counselor Cuddy, a second by Report Hennigan. All those in favor? Opposed? All right, take care, everyone. Thanks for your hard work.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
I'll get that language.
Thank you too, Tracy. Yeah.
I probably have it somewhere, from like an audit, RFP, but. it's probably
Hey,
not good.
yeah, I'll just do anything for me to send it.
Yeah.
Good show. More we want to do. Jersey,